So I thought, what happens if Nat loses her job? Well, I guess in that scenario, we could go back and live with my parents. That's definitely a solution. You know, when I first started thinking about it, I thought that starting my YouTube channel was this life or death moment. But then after I started digging a little bit deeper, I realized that we were so far from reaching this worst case scenario. And even if we did have to move back home to live with my parents, that's really not all that bad. I mean, I'd done it before, I can do it again. And now equipped with this knowledge, I realized that starting my YouTube channel wasn't really that risky at all. There's a simple practice you can do that might shrink your
once you list all the risks out and see like what really can happen if it doesn't work out, it probably won't seem as bad. It won't seem that bad. Just start doing something, man. Start doing something today.
Even more than just asking this question.
What it do, man? It's your boy 100 and we back in this. Hey, we back in this, man. And right now we got Matt D'Avella. Matt D'Avella. Anyway, the name of this video is Why Your Life is So Boring. So let's tap in and see what he had to tell us and tell us why we lame.
Every day you flick through the same trends on Instagram, eat the same bland cereal in the morning, and sit through the same monotonous calls at work. Let's face it, your life is boring as f***. And here's the biggest reason why. You haven't taken enough risks. Whether you're thinking about starting a YouTube channel, asking out that cute stranger across the bar, or moving halfway across the world to live in your dream city, it's scary to take a leap into the unknown. We tend to jump straight to the worst case scenario. What if nobody ever watches my videos and I waste all this time for nothing? What if that cute girl rejects me?
So is that a banana, or are you just happy to see me?
It's a banana.
What if New York turns out to be more like I Am Legend than your favorite episode of Friends?
Oh my God, I can't believe it!
But important life changes rarely ever happen in our comfort zone. We don't take risks for the hell of it. We do it because the other side of risk is better than our current reality. And so if you want to live a life that's filled...
Pause 1 second. Before he even break it down any further, I would say, like, me personally, I feel like I am a risk taker. I am a revolutionary. But I am a risk taker though. Like, even this channel, bro, I knew when I started this channel, like, hey bro, like, you gonna make a lot of videos and nobody gonna watch them for a long time. But you can't let that stop you. You just gotta keep going. You gotta keep making them. Keep making them, keep putting them out. Keep making them, keep putting them out. And eventually you will find your people. You will find your people that are interested in what you're talking about. That was a leap of faith, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like by the time we finish this video, the point is gonna be fear. Fear is why your life is boring, because you're afraid.
Filled with purpose, adventure, and happiness, then you're gonna have to get really comfortable being uncomfortable. So I wanna talk about how you can push yourself just a little bit further, take the right kind of risks, and consistently embrace uncertainty in a way that feels right for you. This video is sponsored by Squarespace. I'll talk more about them later. When you think of risk-taking, your mind might jump to adrenaline junkies bungee jumping from helicopters, or that kid on Reddit who put his life savings on GameStop. But you don't need to do crazy stunts or put your entire life savings on the line to be an effective risk-taker. In fact, if you're anything like me, you'd immediately nope out of both of those conversations. Much like coffee and credit scores, not everyone's relationship with risk is the same. There are a ton of different factors that determine how comfortable you are with them, from your personality to your age, your upbringing, and your past experiences. But no matter where you fall on that spectrum of risk takers, the first step to pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is to start really small. If you really want to get better at understanding risks, you can learn a lot from entrepreneurs. In a study from the Cambridge Innovation Center, researchers found that entrepreneurs show the greatest tolerance for risk. And when you think about it, it's not all that surprising why. Entrepreneurs have to get really comfortable
That's facts though. I knew this dude when I was like, 18, and he was like very, very like fearless. Like, he didn't fear failure at all. Like, if he had a thought and he wanted to do something, he just did it. Like, he didn't care about it might not work out, the risk, the reward. He didn't care. He just did it. You know what he's doing right now? A business owner, 2 or 3 businesses, paid. But I saw that in his future, because he didn't, if he had an idea, he legit was ready to execute it almost that day. Like no matter what it was. You have a conversation with him like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about doing this, I'm thinking about doing that." He'd be like, "Let's do it today, right now. What's up? Or tomorrow. When we gonna do it?" He was that kind of person. He was that kind of person back when I was 18. And I feel like I'm that kind of person now. Like now I'm with that. Now I'm with whatever. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Let's start. Let's go. Where before I kind of might have been like, dang, what if we fail? What if it doesn't work out? But it's like, who cares if you fail, if it doesn't work out? More than likely you're gonna fail. But failing is not the end. You fail and then push through it. You see why you failed and you fix it and do better the next time. Like my first 100 videos on this channel was probably 100 failures. Just me figuring out what I want to do, figuring out how I want to, you know what I'm saying? You don't know what works until you mess up.
Stepping out into the unknown, from taking out their first loan, to starting their first business, or launching their first product. They continually need to push themselves in ways that very few people do. Why do they embrace risk? Well, without it, they fall into what economists call the innovator's dilemma. This is where companies continue to sustain existing technologies instead of investing in new and often better products that disrupt industries. It's why Blockbuster went bust, the music industry was flipped upside down, and why you've got an iPhone in your pocket. Those who push the boundaries and take risks are more likely to find success. But you don't have to invent the next Uber to learn how to apply these lessons to your own life. Smart entrepreneurs take risks that are on scale with their business. So they start out with lower stakes to test the waters, and then they flex their risk-taking muscles as they go along. So instead of throwing your entire paycheck into crypto, you could start by investing $100 into a micro investing app. Rather than moving to a cabin in the middle of the woods to be a reclusive artist, you could post a painting on Instagram. Or before you nominate yourself to give a talk in front of hundreds of people, maybe try holding someone's attention on chat roulette. Is that still a thing? So I actually just had a conversation with Nat about my business, and she said, I could never do what you do. I couldn't deal with the pressure and take the risks that you have to take every day. But I didn't take all of these risks on day one. I started out really simple, and I took more as I got more comfortable. So when I was in college, that's when I started my freelance business, and it seemed like the biggest risk of my life. And then a few years later, I decided to direct my first documentary. And then I started my YouTube channel. And then over the past couple of years, I increased my risks even more by starting my company Slow Growth and hiring an entire full team of creatives. At each of these stages,
Pause. I know a lot of people are living lives that they feel are mundane and they don't want to live it. They don't want to keep going to work and going home and going to work and going home and going to work and going home and only living on the weekend. They don't want to keep living that life, right? So why are you? Like you gotta take a risk at some point. You gotta jump out some kind of window and just hope that you land on something. You gotta just take a risk at some point, sometime. You keep waiting and waiting and waiting. Like, yeah, it's next year, next month. And you look up and 10, 20, 30, 50 years on went past. Like, you gotta take that risk, man. You gotta just go ahead full force with whatever you think about. Try it out. Try it. And if it's something you really feel like can change your life, then really put some time into it. A year minimum, focused on just that thing. And if it seems like it's not working out, you got zero progress, take a step back, reassess, try something else, or double up on that. You know what I'm saying? Just take a risk, man, to change your life. You don't want to die and be like, dog, what did I do? I died and I didn't do anything profound. Don't die ordinary.
It felt like it was a leap of faith into the unknown. I was nervous. I wasn't sure how it would go. But I knew that in order to avoid living a mediocre life, I had to push myself further. And I know that I'll need to continue to do that in the future.
Like,
and if I don't, then, well, my life will get really boring. One of the most powerful ways that I've learned to stomach these moments of overwhelming self-doubt is to ask myself the question, what's the worst that could happen? And when we really sit with that question, we often realize that the answer isn't as bad as we think. When I think back to the moment when I decided to start my YouTube channel, for instance, I ask myself that same question. What's the worst that could happen? And I really just play that out, and I went down that rabbit hole. And I thought, well, I guess I could start uploading videos and nobody watches them. Okay, so I waste some time and energy. What else? That's not the worst case scenario. All right, well, my friends could start making fun of me for putting myself out there. They did. I guess I have to give up some of
I ain't had not one friend to make fun of not one video I made. I don't think I have those kind of people in my life. Like, I feel like the most of the people that I interact with, like if I do something or say I'm about to do something, either they'll support it or they just won't say nothing. But I don't have nobody that's gonna laugh and be like, "What you doing? You tripping? That's whack." Or nobody's laughing at me. Nobody's gonna laugh at me. They're either gonna support it or not say anything. That's pretty much what's the people around me. You know what I'm saying?
My freelance revenue for a little bit. I'd probably burn through my savings pretty quickly. And I guess at that point, Nat and I would have to rely on her salary alone for a little bit. That might mean that I'd need to cancel my gym membership and start working out from home. I might even have to get thrifty and start shopping with coupons.
Gotta cut back.
But I guess things could always get a little bit worse from there, right? So I thought, what happens if Nat loses her job? Well, I guess in that scenario, we could go back and live with my parents. That's definitely a solution. You know, when I first started thinking about it, I thought that starting my YouTube channel was this life or death moment. But then after I started digging a little bit deeper, I realized that we were so far from reaching this worst case scenario. And even if we did have to move back home to live with my parents, that's really not all that bad. I mean, I'd done it before, I can do it again. And now equipped with this knowledge, I realized that starting my YouTube channel wasn't really that risky at all. There's a simple practice you can do that might shrink your
once you list all the risks out and see like what really can happen if it doesn't work out, it probably won't seem as bad. It won't seem that bad. Just start doing something, man. Start doing something today.
Even more than just asking this question. You could try living them out. Entrepreneur and self-proclaimed human guinea pig Tim Ferriss runs an experiment every month called fear setting. This exercise is inspired by the words of Stoic philosopher Seneca. Set aside a certain number of days, during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, is this the condition that I feared? The idea is to define the worst case outcome, and then to actively immerse yourself in that situation. Say you're worried about your business idea failing and ending up with no money. Well, you might practice living off of $10 a day by eating simple and affordable foods. Hell, if you're up for it, you could even pitch a tent in the middle of the woods to cut yourself off from the comforts you've grown accustomed to for a short period of time. Often you'll find that the worst case scenario is actually pretty tolerable. Actually, give me a moment real quick.
Not that bad.
So even the most fearless entrepreneurs don't take crazy risks just for the sake of it. They only take them after a deep analysis to see if there are enough rewards to justify the leap. Successful entrepreneurs take calculated risks, and so should you. To do this, you should consider not only the pros and cons of taking the risk, but as Tim Ferriss recommends, you should also consider the potential cost of inaction. So say that you're thinking...
I also would say, to add into that, you should treat whatever you want to do, whatever endeavor you want to partake in, you should treat it like it's not gonna fail. You know what I'm saying? Like if you treat it like it's gonna work out, regardless, like no matter what happens, you know that this is gonna work. If you treat it like it's gonna work, a lot of times it will. Some people won't do something because they started and then it don't take off the way they want to. Like you got to look at some of these success stories, man, and look at how long it took them to like take off, and look at how long it took them doing something every single day before it really like paid off. But if you really truly believe that it will pay off, why would you stop? You stopped because you thought it wasn't gonna work anymore. You didn't have the belief. You gotta really believe. You gotta believe almost to the state of delusion. But you gotta believe.
About quitting your job to start your own freelance business. You might draw up your cost and reward analysis into 4 quadrants on a piece of paper, adding the cost of inaction, the reward of inaction, the cost of action, and the reward of action. So for the cost of inaction, it might be staying in a job that I hate, only getting 2 weeks of vacation a year, and always wondering what if. And for the reward of inaction,
what if.
I'll have the safety of a paycheck.
Nobody
will judge me if I stay. My life will remain comfortable. For the cost of action, you might put, my income will dramatically reduce for the foreseeable future. If I fail, I'll need to find a new job, and I'll lose my health benefits. And finally, the reward of action, I'll have a much higher earning potential. My work will align with my passions, and I can create a better work-life balance.
That's the
so
one.
When you run this risk and reward scenario, you might very well decide that this is the moment to go all in on starting your freelance business. And to be honest, I'm totally with you. It sounds like you fully thought this thing through and you're ready to take action. But before you take the leap, there's one more thing you need to think about. You might have heard the expression, leap and the net will appear. Well, in my opinion, that's terrible advice, and it's the quickest way to land right on your face. Desperation can lead us to make crappy decisions and do things that we'll later regret, like selling our mint condition Charizard card. I don't want to talk about it. Whenever I'm planning out a risky
Not the
move,
Charizard.
I always factor in my safety net. So when I set out to start my YouTube channel, I didn't take the leap right after I overdrafted on my checking account and needed to borrow money from my parents in order to get by. I waited until I paid off a significant amount of my student loans. I was earning a substantial amount of income from my freelance business, and I had built up a solid runway first. Starting my channel wasn't a huge monetary risk in the beginning. The real risk came when I decided to stop taking on freelance work to devote all of my time and energy into making things happen. So to make that jump full time, I built up a runway of 1 year of basic expenses. That was my safety net, and it gave me the confidence I needed to stop taking on client work and to pursue my creative career full time. My runway was built upon my own risk tolerance. Others might be able to get by with even less, but here's the main point. I took a calculated risk. Having a safety net or a plan B doesn't make you a coward, it makes you strategic, and it allows you to make better decisions knowing that you have something to fall back on.
That's real. Giving yourself the room to go all in on something, bro. Like, just imagine if you had 6 months, just 6 months of you can just grind and focus on whatever your passion is, and that's it. You ain't got to worry about nothing else. Just focus on your passion. 6 months. Think about how much further you would be versus when you try to fit your passion in after work. You're tired, you gotta wake up, you gotta do this, you gotta do that 40 hours a week. The weekend you burnt out, you try to fit it in here, fit it in there. When you give yourself 6 months of just, I can just grind, you can change your whole life forever. And that's why it's good when some parents don't like force their kids out immediately. Like, give your kids a chance to get something started, get something going. You pushing them out the house at 18 for what? What's the reason? Do you hate your kids? I wouldn't push my kids out at 18. Like, what am I doing? We're going to get you a foundation, something to stand on, something to work with, and then you can go out there. Like, I'm not pushing you out the door for you to work fast food and struggle and live in the hood. And why? What's the point of that? I prepared you. You're ill prepared. You're ill prepared to survive.
So if you're looking around at your life right now and asking yourself, is this really it? Am I really happy to endlessly scroll through Instagram, eat the same old breakfast,
Right.
and show up at the same unfulfilling job?
Right.
Me? Or am I ready to take a step into the unknown? When you look at it that way, sticking to the status quo sounds a little bit risky to me.
Yeah, man. So all of that was facts, bro. I think I'm way more of a risk taker than stay somewhere and be unhappy or live in the status quo. I don't want to live status quo. Even if I'm not rich, like, I don't have to be rich. Rich is not my goal. My goal is to be able to feed myself with no one's help. My goal is to be able to feed myself, shelter myself, clothe myself with no one's help. I don't want to have to go clock in and ask somebody, can I get hours? Ask somebody, can I take off? And can I work this time? Or can I work that time? Or I don't feel good. And they're making you feel guilty because you calling out. Like, I ain't got time for none of that, man. You be having managers that's vindictive and playing favoritism, and you being taught by people that you feel like, I know I'm smarter than you. How can you lead me to anything? I'm helping you do your job. And you the manager, you the supervisor, you know what I'm saying? I don't have time for that, bro. I want to be able to feed myself by myself. That's my goal. I don't have to be rich. I don't have to be rich. Rich is not the goal. Freedom is the goal. Freedom. And in order to be free, a lot of times out here, you gotta take a leap. Take a leap. Take a risk. Take a risk. You know, my clothing line is ultra refined clothing. You know what I'm saying? It's rare. You feel me? It's don't die ordinary. Cause I don't want to die ordinary. That's why my clothes say don't die ordinary. Like, but anyway, man, let me know how you feel about the video, man. Cause you feel what he was talking about? Do you feel like you're a risk taker, or do you feel like you're more of you like stability, and you know what I'm saying, you cool with just working the job and going home? Like, because some people do. Some people I met, they don't have a problem with going to work. Like, that's cool with them. Like, going to work and going home, that's cool with them. But me, it's always been a bit of an issue. I always have rebelled against going to work, and I always rebelled against structure and having to report to somebody else. I always rebelled against it, to a fault sometimes, probably. But yeah, man, let me know if you are ready to take a leap of faith yourself. Are you finna dive into your passions? Are you gonna take the risk and do some of the things that you actually like doing and love doing? Are you gonna try to find a way to make some income from your passions outside of your job, you can start today. You can do it right now. You can start right now today. What you doing? Exactly. But yeah, man, as always, clothes for sale in the description, socials in the description, the gear I use to make these videos, link down in the description. If you learned anything, you gained any insight on something, if I made you think about something, man, go ahead and, you know what I'm saying, drop a sub for your man. Sip your man's out, show me some love, drop a little sub. You feel me? But anyway, man, appreciate the love, and I'll see y'all in the next one.